Our friends are our chosen family, and when they no longer are a part of our lives, the pain of that loss can feel like the death of a loved one. Welcome to the Soul Healing Podcast, where we discuss all things and methods of emotional healing, connecting with our inner guidance, and most importantly, becoming the best and most healed version of ourselves. I'm Sawadi. Welcome to the podcast. Friendship breakups are so painful because we get to choose our friends, and that's like the most exciting part about it. We select these people, they select us, and because we're choosing each other, there is like a beauty and a safety in that. A lot of times people focus on romantic relationships, but our friendships, especially as women, deeply affect our well-being emotionally overall. If you have great female friendships in your life, your stress levels will be significantly lower. Your life flows more smoothly because you have someone that you can vent to, you have someone that can give you support and advice. And even if you have a romantic partner, if your husband is a male, your husband being a male, he can't quite understand you in the way another woman can understand you. So just having those friendships where you can talk about things that make sense to you and just going through life together, it brings so much value and so much beauty into your life. So when those kind of relationships end, it is truly, truly excruciating. Most of the time, when friendships no longer work, they kind of fade out of our lives. But sometimes we get into situations where we have like full on friendship breakups, where there is confrontation, where there is like hurt, where there is offense. And this is very, very painful for a lot of us. I think one of the most important things to recognize in situations like this is to acknowledge why the friendship broke up, like why the friendship ended. And usually it's not a one-time event. Usually there's like a list of things that kind of like added up. Some people it may be like one traumatic event, like somebody cheated on somebody, betrayed somebody or something serious like that. But over time, for a lot of people, they're like little micro things that kind of add up. So just writing a list of why the friendship ended so that you can have this for future friendships. When you're going to future friendships, kind of have this in the back of your mind. Okay, where did this friendship go wrong? And not just what the other person did wrong. What was your contribution to the ending of the friendship? So what your friend did to you and what was your contribution? Have those written down so that you can learn from the situation. I do believe that life is filled with experiences so that we can learn. And if we don't learn the lesson now, we will have other future experiences that are similar that will try to force us to learn the lesson. If you ever look at your life and you find yourself in the same kind of loop over and over again, there is a lesson that is being missed. So please, I often ask God, whatever you believe in, God, the universe, or whatever, just be like, please teach me the lesson in this situation so that I do not have to come and go through it again. And I had a friendship breakup with one of my friends for 10 years. There's a time we met up together, we clicked really well, we were in a similar situation. We recently come out of college, we were both working overseas. And it was just really exciting. We both like just clicked really, really well. And we're able to encourage each other, and we were there for each other many, many ups and downs in our lives. And I'm so, so grateful for that. But despite that, there were times where we overlooked things about each other, or like we weren't really meshing very well, and we just overlooked it because we're long distance for a while. She moved to a different state, and because of that, it was easy to overlook certain things that weren't really fitting very well with us in our lives. I would have preferred for us to just kind of organically fade out of each other's lives so we could still, say, hey, happy birthday, or every once in a while chat, but that isn't exactly how it went down. Unfortunately, we did hang out after not hanging out for like 6 years. We spent several weeks together, and over the course of those weeks, we realized that we had become very different people. And it was kind of sad to realize that we don't fit anymore. But that is part of life. That is why life is filled with seasons. There are some people that will be there for a reason, just one moment, one lesson for you to learn. There are people who will be there with you for seasons. And then we'll be blessed with certain people who are there for a lifetime. We all want those lifetime people. But one thing I will encourage you is to never, ever force a seasonal person to become a lifetime person. Because what you're going to do is to delay not only your own personal blessing, but you're delaying their blessing, and you're inviting strife into your life. You're inviting disrespect into your life. You're inviting misalignment into your life. And when you do that, you no longer know who you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to do, because you're trying to force a relationship that's not supposed to be working into your life. So now you're ignoring your intuition. You're just saying, you need to let this person go. And you're like, no, no, no. We have history. We've had this and this together. We've been there for each other. This and this has happened. They've done this for me. And when we get into that rat race of logic and ignore intuition, what happens is our body knows. So because our body knows, there's going to be little situations here and there that's like, no, this isn't working. So we're going to cause a little conflict here. And it's going to add up here. And then it's like, in my life, I've looked at 2 major situations. That 10-year friendship, and there was another situation where I had to like completely leave an organization. I stayed because of loyalty, just like in my friendship that was no longer meshing really well. I stayed because of loyalty. And what happened is disrespect started to come in. Disrespect, disregard for my boundaries, inconsideration. Because when you don't respect yourself, the other person in their subconscious, even if they're a good person, they start to feel that. So if you're not respecting your intuition, if you're not respecting your own value, they are going to mirror that back to you. They're going to treat you with disrespect because you're disrespecting yourself. They're going to disregard your boundaries because you're disregarding your own boundaries. And life is a mirror. So when we force people to stay in our life longer than they're meant to stay, or we stay in someone else's life longer than we're meant to stay, we're going to be creating chaos, not only in our lives, but in their life. Because it's like God is telling you, hey, you need to move. I have something else for you. This person has been there for this season. That was your season, but there's something else I need you to do. And you staying over here trying to stay because of history and loyalty are denying yourself the blessing that you want. So because God's will cannot be thwarted, you're going to have a lot of friction here until you finally move out of that situation. Those 2 major situations where I overstayed my season, they were extremely painful. But once I moved out, the relief that I felt in my physical body, the relief I felt in my mind, and not only that, it's just like these ideas were just birthed out of those situations. This podcast was birthed out of those situations from a year ago where I was overstaying my season in somebody else's life. And it's like things just started falling into place. Like my relationship with my husband flourished. My relationship with my kids flourished. And I didn't realize that overstaying my season in someone else's life, or allowing someone to overstay or trying to force someone into my life longer than they were meant to, was distracting me from pouring into what I was actually meant to be pouring into. So I would encourage you, even though it may be painful to let go of certain people, let them go. Let them go. Wish them well. You don't have to have malice in your heart toward them. You don't have to have resentment. You don't have to have anger. You just say, hey, I love this person, but I know they are a bad fit for me. And I am grateful for the season that they had in my life. And I'm willing to step back and allow God to do whatever he wants to do with them and do what is meant to be done with my life. Like I'm willing to come and take my blessing. Okay? I'm willing to move on to the next phase of my life. And we don't have to feel guilty about leaving people behind, because the reality is we are the main character in our story. We may have a role in other people's stories at different times. They may have a role in our story at different times, but we are the main character. So when you are the main character, the plot line has moved, these people have left the scene, go and focus on you, on being who you're called to be, being who you're meant to be. When you listen to your intuition, things just fall into place. You don't even have to force things. They just fall into place. So trust your intuition, believe that you are divinely guided, and everything truly will work out for your highest good. If you have made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. I know it's a little bit all over the place, but this is just something that is really so near and dear to my heart, because I truly walked through this not too long ago. And I wish other people would recognize when to move on sooner than I did, so they can go ahead and walk into their blessing. If you want another video that's in alignment with today's topic, please click the one you see on the screen above. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.